Grand Rising family, how's everybody doing? It is 1:58 in the morning and we're under point 2 where we talk about how to reclaim what was removed, and the section that we're doing now is restoring balance in family, community, and self. As we talked about, this is pretty much having the family community come together as a unit to try to break barriers for the most part. That's the whole essence behind this particular assignment. Again, in this section of what we're doing is pretty much more of a to-do type of situation. Pretty much, actually going in and doing the work. So, without further ado, we're going to begin. Restoring the balance in the family, community, and self. Number 1, why balance was lost. When the divine feminine was erased, families lost the circle structure and became hierarchies. Masculine without feminine became domination, control, and suppression. Feminine without masculine becomes instability, lack of grounding. What was removed left us with men often taught to lead without listening, women silenced, and children dismissed. The result of this outcome? A lopsided society, intellect over intuition, work over rest, and dominance over harmony. Number 2, restoring balance in the family. Fathers as protectors, not controllers. Their role is to guard, hold safe space, provide strength. Mothers as wisdom keepers, the heart, intuition, healing, the rhythm keepers of the home. Children as carriers of the flame, not empty vessels but voices of the future, bringing pure insight before society teaches them to forget. The family practice. Once a week, gather and let everyone speak in a circle. Father, mother, child. Each voice honored equally. Pass a stone, candle, or staff around. Whoever holds it has the floor. Now, in this particular section, it's pretty much making it to where everybody has a voice, everybody has an opinion, everybody has a say. In family nowadays, it seems like one outweighs the other. Children definitely get neglected when they state their issues or they state a problem. It gets dismissed off. This is the generational curse. And this is something that I'm even trying to break with my sons. If they say, I'm sad, tell me why you sad. Because as the nurturer of the mother that I am, and because I have to also now play both parts at this time, I could protect them, make sure they got their what they need, but they also need that listening ear. It really matters, especially when you have, with me, young boys. I have 2 young boys. So to hear them out and not dismiss them, it means a lot because their voice do matter. For men and women, the dynamic there. Men, you have your voice. Women, you have your voice. And both opinions matter. There should not be one over the other or one have more providence over the others. It should never be that way. So with this one, is pretty much explaining to be more interactive as a unit and come together as a unit, and we have a better resolve. If people's voices are heard and respected, it would be such a better thing. The world will move so much more quickly, but we have to be open to hear everything and not to dismiss what is being said. This is how a lot of childhood traumas start, because it starts from childhood, even with the mother and the father, because remember, they too was once children. And if this is not spoken about, then it goes into the next generation and then the next generation. This is not a healthy way to go about life. So yes, restoring that balance means a lot. Now, restoring balance in the community, which is point 3, listening circles. Instead of one leader dictating, rotate the leadership. Shared authority. Women and men sit at the same table, decisions made together. Number 3, honoring elders and youth. Wisdom flows from both directions, ancestors and future carriers. Now, as a community practice, hold a monthly council night. Elders share lessons, youth share visions, men and women share equally. Decisions made only after all voices are heard. Again, going back to the previous point, number 2. Everybody needs to have their point where they step in their own authority. Sometimes, like they said again, rotate the leadership. The leadership shouldn't always be man. The leadership shouldn't always be woman. It should always be a balance. Listen to the elders as they have been through this throughout of a lifetime, because elders have been through what you already have been through, and the youth have new, fresh ideas that you may not have considered. Because, like I said, even going back to the Bible, when children had questions about the book, and then you tell them, oh no, you shouldn't say that. You're shutting them down from having a voice, and their voice is the future. They're coming in with their own generation, so you got to be wary and understand that they should be honored to where they bring on new point of views. The elders bring on old knowledge and stuff like that, some things that may be beneficial. And the mother and father and stuff like that, they pretty much have their own leadership tactics where they both have to step in on their part. But bottom line, even in this section, again, all voices are heard, all ideas are accepted, and all ideas are considerations. Because a lot of times people can hear, but do you listen? Do you take into what is being told to you? And a lot of times that's where the dysfunction breaks up, because people get caught up in the titles instead of actually going on and doing the practice of it. It's like, I hear you, I understand you. Now, are you going to move accordingly to what they say? Are you going to go by this person's suggestion? Are you going to act on a suggestion? Or are you just going to say, okay, yeah, I heard you? It's very dismissive. Now, restoring balance in the self. Mind, Sophia, equals wisdom, study, and clarity. Body, Asherah, grounding, care, rhythm with nature. Spirit, Magdalene, intimacy, devotion, connection. Balance comes when no one expects dominance. Not intellect alone, not body alone, not spiritual escape alone. Now, this is a self-practice exercise. Daily check-in. Ask yourself, did I feed my mind today? Did I tend my body? Did I honor my spirit? If one is starving, bring balance. Read, stretch, pray, walk, breathe. Now, in this particular section, it's saying you should not seclude one aspect of yourself to make someone else whole. You still have to be in full balance with yourself in order for this to be an effective type of practice to begin with. You need to have the mind aspect of the wisdom of Sophia. You need to have the body, which is the care, the rhythm and stuff like that, relaxing and getting it back in touch with nature. You need to have the spirit with about devotion and connection with the family. So you need to also be in balance. That way, if you need to, can show the rest of the family how to be in balance. If people have one part or aspect of them that is unbalanced, or one is not being fed the proper attention, is not balanced. You cannot say have the body and spirit but not the mind, or the mind and the spirit and not the body, or the spirit but not, you get what I'm saying? Like, you need to have that balance. All three levels of the divine feminine side of you needs to be balanced to have more of a better clarity. Because again, with them, it's not about dominance, it's about having a clear visual about what needs to be done. The balance within. Point 5. Now here is a collective ritual practice. You would need a supply of a candle, which is the flame. You would need a bowl of water, a small stone, and a flower or a leaf. Very simple few items. Number 1, set the circle. Place the 4 items in the middle. Fire equals passion, water equals spirit, stone equal body, and flower equal wisdom and beauty. Number 2, invite the balance. Each person touches one item and speaks what balance means to them. Number 3, children speak. Let the youngest in the circle share last, sealing the voice of the future. Number 4, saying together. We restore the balance, mind, body, spirit, father, mother, child, elder, youth. We rise as a whole. Now, in this particular practice, and in this particular thing, it's giving everybody a point in their time to actually invite and call in the balance. Everybody has a voice, even down to the young children. Even if they're on an experiment type of note, they're still being heard. And again, the younger voice seals in and locks in. Their voices again do matter. And like I said, a lot of children come in with the knowledge. I believe I said it on the previous slide. They come in with prior knowledge already. They come in with the whole insight. They are great rememberers. And that's another thing too, because kids soak up a lot of stuff, even from what's being said to what's in their surrounding environments. So when you're raising the next generation, the baby flames, you have to understand you don't want to put out their spark. It is needed. That is them. That is their essence. And they need to know that it is loved. And we hear you, and we're going to do something about that. When I took on a challenge, and I mean everything I'm doing is unorthodox from what my family did. Every typical generation, get up, send your kids to school, they go on to learn, and they're pretty much more intact with the people on the outside than they is with the family. But then you wonder why there is so much of a disconnect. The system made it that way to where they don't look at family, mother and father, with a certain amount of respect. It's been situations where I heard children say like, well, you weren't there, you weren't there, you weren't there, and you can't deny that you won't. I hear from male and female and stuff like that, they were happy about where their careers are, but at the same time, the nucleus, the family that you go home to, feel that bit of neglect because your drive to be this top person in your field carry more weight than a family that is being created, that you're bringing up, that you're teaching them how to be. There's a disconnect there. So when I decided to do the homeschooling with my kids, because what I noticed with my first child, when I was there, it's like he was in NICU. And I'm going to get personal with you so you can understand where I'm coming from. He was born 2 to 3 months prior. I think he was born at 6 or 7 months. I was going through a lot during his pregnancy. I had a high risk pregnancy. He had to stay in the hospital from the time he was born, which was January 14th, Capricorn. Actually, 2 to 3 days after my birthday, I'm the 11th, and he was born on the 14th. From there, right, he stayed in NICU, such a small little fragile thing. Me and him both almost was left from this earth. And he stayed in there from then to March. When March came in, March 10th, I remember the exact date, March 10th, 2021, I was so happy to bring him home. But there was also a disconnect because my baby wasn't under me. And it's like I had him, but I had to go to the hospital to see him. And I made sure I tried to do that every time. And around the time, this was around winter time, so it was snowstorms where it wasn't allowing me or permitting me to be there a lot of times. And it did something to me, like I can't be there for him. He's supposed to be right here with me. I'm supposed to be having him, but in this condition, he could not be. So what happened was that even though I was providing, I was there at that time during the hospital making these runs and everything like that. It's like, I was feeling it. So he comes home in March. I had to go back to work in May. I still felt like I didn't have enough bonding time with him. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, now I had to go right back into work. My son just came out of NICU literally 2 months ago, and I have to go back into this job where I'm going to do my job, yes, but I'm not really feeling comfortable because I should be home with my child. He needs me more than this job do. But it's all about the mindset and stuff like that. Oh, we got to go out here. We got to make the money. We got to do this. We got to make sure everything. Depleting me a lot of my energy that I already had. Because doing that travel back and forth to see your child in that situation, and then having to come home and be with him just for like a good month and a half or so, and then go back to a job and stuff like that where they try to work you like a slave because, oh, we need to get this bottom line done. It's hit different. It hit very differently. By August, I was very emotional. Just put it that way and stuff like that. And I said, I feel like I'm a bad mother and stuff like that. Like, the grandparents had him, but he didn't recognize who I was and stuff like that. He came home and was around the grandparents more than me. So it was like the attachment was more to them and is more to them than it is to me. And I'm like, I don't like this feeling. Like, I don't understand how people could say, okay, I'm going to have a baby and I got to get back to the money. It's bigger things, bigger than the money. I felt like I had him. I went through all this with him. And it's like I still don't got that connection. So that hit differently. Okay. Then he gets older and then it's time for him to go to daycare and stuff like that. He's now with another set of people. That is not me. So more and more me and my son, my oldest son, is becoming more detached. Like, he knows who mommy is, yes. He sees mommy. But it's not about seeing, it's about to feel the emotion. And last year, September 6, 2024, and this is pretty much, I'm already into my second child now. I said, I'm resigning from this position. I no longer want to be at this job. My kids need me more. I sacrificed my job for my kids, yes. I said I will find money elsewhere, stuff like that, but I need more time with them. Because even with them being with the grandparents, they're older, they have their ailments. They cannot hold on to that. And daycare is pricey. That's a whole nother bill. Especially when you have bills to pay already and stuff like that. That's an added extra bill. You don't get paid like that to be trying to cover all this. And you're trying to balance the weights out. So, I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to sacrifice this. I'm going to go on and stuff like that. I'm going to sit here and be with my kids. So, thus, not only did I say, okay, I need to start my own business. I need to start, building up my legacy for them so they can continue on with the legacy. But I'm going to teach them myself. And I began to research about homeschooling and certain things you could do with them in certain age brackets. Now, with my oldest son, by him being premature, it takes him a little long to learn things and stuff like that, but he's very much smart and he catch on to a lot of things. And as you start showing him more and more and more, he begins to learn that. And the youngest one is looking at him to learn more things. He's even talking more clearer. He repeats everything that he says. So yes, you have to get more into the point where your family has to be of value. That's what they took away from here. The value of family, the value of community, the value of balance. Okay? That was just a short, well, not short story, but I did want to tell you that of why I did what I did and how a lot of what you do affects future generations and how kids look at you when they feel that you're not putting in enough energy, enough care into them. He's like, okay, you always out working, but Mom, I want to spend time with you. Can you do this with me? Can you do that? They want that. They want that connection. They want that bond. And what this book in particularly intentionally did was show how to pretty much disconnect. This man got more of a voice than the woman got the voice and stuff like that. Kids are not supposed to be noticed and stuff like that. Disregard what the elders are saying, even though they've been through a lot of stuff and could give you some fruits, give you some little nuggets and stuff like that that you may could use. It may not be all, but some things you could be considered. And that's the whole bottom line of it. Now, this is number 6. And this is the teacher message for the collective, and this is the last part. What was stolen from us was not just text, it was balance. Without the feminine, families lost wisdom, communities lost harmony, and individuals lost wholeness. To reclaim it, we must bring every voice back to the table. Fathers protect, mothers guide, children carry the flame. Elders remember, youth dream. Mind, body, and spirit work together. That is restoration. And this is just the ending of that. But like I said, even with that story that I said, and even with the kids, like I said, I want to end it on that because even when I had my kids, there still wasn't a balance between me and their father. I carry most of the weight there. I handled the bills. I went out to work. I made sure they had clothes. I made sure they had supplies when I had the job. He was here, but he was just here. And sometimes with families, a lot of times women or men would settle just to have that other figure here. But it's no point to have another figure here if they're not playing their respective roles. And it doesn't make sense that when kids are talking, you're not taking into consideration of how they feel or what they're trying to say. And yes, even at a young age, they have a voice, they have an opinion, they matter. But if one is carrying more of the burden than the other, there's a definitely imbalance. If, for instance, if I'm doing everything and you're doing like 10 to 20%, there's no balance. The kids is looking at this. Remember, we are the first teachers. So if we're showing, and as a male at that, if we're showing an imbalance and the son thinking that the women is supposed to do more than the men, when it's technically supposed to be a balance in the situation, they're going to think that going forward, and like I said, they are the flame carriers, they're going to go on and repeat a whole vicious cycle if this is the way how it should be, and it's not. This is why it's imperative to teach these kids the right way, the balanced way, to understand that yes, some things is not going to be this way. Everything is not going to be this way. There should be a balance. Somebody has to step in when the other person can't. And that, family, is the assignment. That is the assignment. That is the whole thing. Restoring balance in family, community, and self. Okay? That was a little deep because, it goes further beyond that. It goes not even to just your internal family. It's the ones that claim to be family, that trauma bond word of family. Because in order for families to be family, everybody got to step into their respective roles, especially when situations is going on, and that is lacked too. Family is not balanced. Do not get trapped by that word family. Family shows up as a unit, everybody playing their respective parts, as we do. In your blood family, if everybody not playing their respective parts and expecting one person to do majority of this and the majority of the work, and they don't do their part, but everything is put on a burden of one person, there is no balance. It's just an energy drain. That's pretty much all it is. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to go into, I want to make sure that, let me see, did I go past it? Okay, so under the reading the suppressed text with, no, I'm sorry, that's the wrong thing, sorry. How to reclaim what was removed. The next section that we're going to go into after this, which is the last section in this particular series, this series kind of went very quick, is honoring the body and womb temple practices. Now, in this section, we're going to talk about how they demonize the body, especially the womb, to cut people off from direct connection to source. Reclaiming means seeing the body as temple, sacred, not shameful. For women, womb meditation, yoni breathing, dance that awakens the sacral energy. For men, breath work into the solar plexus, honoring their seed as sacred force, not conquest. And for all, eat consciously, rest fully, touch the body with reverence. And the practice for the collective is going to be every morning, place one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly, and say, this temple is holy. This body carries divine flame. Okay? So I hope you got a good learning lesson from this particular section of Restoring Balance in Family, Community, and Self. And as always, I would like to say to the Flame Family Spirit Team, Supreme Rising, I speak truth, and Ashe.